Our Marlins are back in the NLCS for the fourth time in 5 seasons. We're going to face off against the Chicago Cubs, looking to make it back to the World Series, coming off a thrilling NLDS, which lasted a full 5 games. The 5th game was really exciting. We were up 3-1 going into the 7th inning, and the Dodgers scored 4. We got 4 right back in the bottom of the 7th to ultimately hang on, get the win, and keep our season alive. Now, we saw some twists and turns throughout the NLDS with guys like Jesus Sanchez and Edward Cabrera getting injured. Both of those guys are fine, though. I can't say the same for the National League MVP, Brian De La Cruz, who broke his forearm in Game 2 and is out for the rest of the playoffs. This sucks because, he's been our best player this year by far, and not having him in the lineup is going to be a big deal. Obviously, he's playing the best baseball of his career, but even when he wasn't an elite MVP caliber player, he was still great in the postseason. So not having him, I think, is going to be a pretty big loss for us as we look to keep the train rolling here against the Cubs in the NLCS. We play against the Cubs, it feels like, every year in the playoffs. They won 96 games this year, the second best record in the National League. They beat the Mets in 4 games in the NLDS, including a 15-0 elimination game. So their offense had 26 base runners, 15 hits. Shane Bieber, meanwhile, allowed 1 base runner the entire game. If that's not dominant, I don't know what is. So an unbelievable showing by Shane Bieber, the old man, trying to show that he's still got some left in the tank in 2030. And they've still got some familiar faces such as Pete Crow Armstrong, Luis Suarez, and Ian Happ. They've gotten career years out of George Watkins, Harold Ramirez, and Oscar Colas, and the rotation is super strong, led by ace Bobby Miller, Shane Bieber, who's still really solid, and young guys like Alfonso Estrada and Carlos Vasquez. The bullpen is also one of the better ones in baseball, so we've got our work cut out for us here. Maybe the 2 best teams in Major League Baseball facing off here in the NLCS. And we're going to be formatting today's episode very similarly to the last one, where we're going to get through the entire playoff series in one episode, which means a lot of quick managing. We're going to hop into the big moments, and we may play full elimination games given, the opportunity. So it should be a fun one here as we start with Game 1. And the Marlins are going to be going with the young righty, Robbie Jones. Edward Cabrera just pitched in Game 5 against the Dodgers. He's not ready to go off of, I think, 1 day's rest. So it'll be Robbie Jones who gets to start second in Cy Young voting this year behind Edward Cabrera. His first postseason start was not a particularly good one, though, allowing 4 runs in 4 1/3 innings. So let's hope this one's better. Again, we'll be quick managing and playing the super big at-bats and whatnot. Basically like play the moments in Madden. So let's get this show on the road. Robbie Jones looking to start off strong, and it looks like he will do so as he will retire the side at the top of the first inning. The ace for the Cubs, Bobby Miller, gets the start. He retires the side as well. Not much offense early. Who will be the first team to at least get a base runner? And it's the Marlins. Isaac Stu gets on with a walk. Can the Fish do anything? They get a single by MJ Melendez. That'll bring up James Wood. He draws a walk, and the bases are loaded. Oh, God, this surely won't end poorly. Jacob Berry, 2-2, swinging a miss on the fastball. Nice pitch by Berry. That'll bring us to Vidal Brujan, and this one is skied into left. Looks like it should be caught, and it will by the shortstop. So the Marlins load the bases. You can take a guess what happens after that. They score nobody, as this game remains scoreless going into the 3rd. Great start, though, for Robbie Jones. He hasn't allowed any base runners up to this point as he retires the side again, 9 up, 9 down. Jazz Chisholm with a single. He moves over to second. Can Isaac Stu drive him in? He does not, and that brings us into the 4th. Daniel Bonilla leads the inning off with a double. Luis Ariz then gets a walk. 2 on, 2 away for Harold Ramirez, and we're going to hop in. Ramirez into the gap, and it looks like the Cubs will strike first. 1 run scores. Second, looking to join. The throw from Brujan is not in time. 2-run double for Harold Ramirez, and the Chicago Cubs lead it 2-0. Harold Ramirez was one of the best offensive players in baseball this year. Who would have thought? A career journeyman, as George Watkins Singles into center. Ramirez looks to score. Wood with a dime. But the throw is not in time. It's an RBI single for Watkins, and the Cubs lead 3-0. That'll bring up Oscar Colas. He draws a walk. And Robbie Jones, who looked dominant through the first 3 innings, has fallen apart in front of our very eyes. He does strike out Owen Cassie, however, and that'll wrap up the 4th. Not a particularly good inning, though, for Jones. He allows 3, and the Cubs are off to a big 3-0 lead. And the Marlins will now look to respond. They start with a single by Jesus Sanchez. Can they drive him in, perhaps? Wood with a single. 2-1 for Berry. He grounds into a fielder's choice. That'll bring up Vidal Brujan with 2 away. We're going to hop in here again. Giant opportunity for Brujan to bring the Marlins back in the game. He's ahead in the count, 3-1. And he skies this one into center. Had he let that one go, it possibly could have been a walk. Although that would have loaded the bases and thus ended the inning. So I guess it doesn't really matter in hindsight as it's caught by PCA. 4 scoreless innings for Bobby Miller, and we move into the 5th. Robbie Jones looking to rebound as he allows a single to Pete Crow Armstrong. Luis Ariz then draws a walk, but he strikes out Ian Happ. Bottom 5. Nothing. The offense isn't doing their job. As we move into the 6th, we're going to make a pitching change. Andres Viñas looked really solid throughout the postseason so far. He's going to come in the game. He allows a base hit to Oscar Colas, but nothing more. Bottom 6, another single for Sanchez. He's continuing to have a great postseason. And Jacob Berry gets a single. Another big at-bat for Vidal Brujan, who's going to be taken out of the game and replaced by Peter Gillis. The Marlins trust him more in clutch situations as this one is caught. I thought it had a chance to drop, but unfortunately it does not. 6 scoreless innings for Bobby Miller, and it remains a 3-0 game as we move into the 7th now. Andres Viñas is going to stay in the game. He gets through the inning pretty easily. Other than that 4th inning, our pitching's been great today, but again, it hasn't mattered. We haven't gotten enough on offense. As Bobby Miller is taken out of the game, he'll be replaced by Leo Zavala. He gets through the rest of the inning, and we move into the 8th. Ramirez draws a walk, and then he's trying to steal. I don't know why you have your 35-year-old first baseman stealing, but okay. Into the 9th now. We're going to bring Camilo Doval into the game. He's been very good throughout the postseason as he allows an early double to Watkins, and luckily we won't let him score. As that brings us into the bottom of the 9th. Xavier Ebner is in for the save, and he'll get it. So the Cubs win Game 1 by the score of 3-0. They got 3 runs in the top of the 4th inning, and that was it regarding offense today. Our lineup did not show up. Point blank period. We definitely missed Brian De La Cruz out there, I'll tell you that. So a rough showing offensively for the Marlins. They had some chances, especially early in the game, with guys on base, and unfortunately did not capitalize. We had more hits, interestingly, than the Cubs, but because of that 1 inning, they got the win. Bobby Miller was fantastic. The bullpen did their job. Miller goes 6 2/3 scoreless to be in particular. And then for us, we got base runners, but we didn't do anything with them. Robbie Jones was mostly good. The bullpen did their job. It was the offense who let us down, and that's going to bring us into a pivotal Game 2. Shane Bieber's on the mound coming off his 1-hitter in the 15-0 win against the Dodgers. He'll face off against the young righty Tyrell Berry, who looks to respond for the Marlins coming off a 3-0 Game 1 loss. The offense has to show up, though. There's no excuses. We had guys on base in Game 1. We didn't make plays. We had 0 extra base hits. The lack of big hits and the lack of timely hits was our undoing. I feel like I've said something similar to that about 50 times since episode 1, and here we are with only a few episodes left in this series, and it continues to be an issue. Let's take a look at Tyrell Berry, who had an up-and-down regular season. His first postseason start this year was a pretty good one, though. 6 innings, only allowed 2 runs, got the win. That was in Game 3 against the Dodgers, put us ahead 2-1 on the road. And without him, I don't know if we would be here. So hopefully he can have another strong start. If we fall 2-0 leading into 3 games at Chicago, that could prove to be some trouble. As he allows a single to PCA and Luis Ariz. And we double him up. Nobody scores for the Cubs as we go bottom 1. James Wood with a hit. So Bieber has allowed the same amount of hits that he did in his entire last start. And then Woody Landry goes deep with a 2-run shot. And it's 2-0 Marlins. The hits are going to keep on coming, though. Single for Stu and then a double play. I will say, though, considering the game that Bieber just had against the Mets, that's a very promising start as Ramirez reaches on an error. That surely won't come back to bite us, right? Hit by pitch. Oscar Colas reaches base. So there's 2 on here and 1 away. Cassie strikes out. That'll bring up Edwin Arroyo now. The big opportunity for the Cubs. The yarn switch hitting shortstop. Singles into left field. Ramirez looks to score. The throw to the plate is a good one, but not in time, and it's 2-1. Remember, Ramirez reached off of an error. This is one of the most talented defensive units in the league. Can't be letting that stuff happen. Bonilla grounds it over to first. Woody Landry tags to base. So already, a lot more offense from the first game. Both teams are already on the board as we go to the bottom of the second. The Marlins looking to add to their lead against Bieber Fever as Jacob Berry rips a double. Will the Marlins drive him in? They don't. And we move into the third inning now. Tyrell Berry's been solid, all things considered. The 1 run was allowed, of course, by the error. Shane Bieber, meanwhile, is pitching a lot better, looking more like the Bieber we saw against the Mets. Berry, meanwhile, continuing to pitch pretty well. He's allowed 0 earned runs through 4 innings. Into the 5th now. Berry continuing to pitch well. He allows a walk to Pete Crow Armstrong and Luis Arraez. Berry hasn't allowed a lot of hits, only 3, but he has allowed a handful of walks. Ian Happ sends this one into the right center gap. It drops and it will one-hop off the wall. 1 run scores for the tie. Arraez for the lead is out of there. And so the Cubs are unable to take the lead. They do still get an RBI double. And this game is knotted up at 2. As we move into the bottom of the 5th, the Marlins offense hasn't really gotten much going since the first, but they get a double from Berry, his 2nd of the game. Will the Marlins drive him in this time? No. Into the 6th now. Berry's going to be taken out of the game. Overall, pretty strong outing as he'll be replaced by Adolfo Jimenez, who will quickly get the job done, retiring the side. Bottom 6, quick walk for Jazz, and he's immediately doubled up. Stu with a walk. Sanchez with a single. Big at bat here now for MJ Melendez, another noted playoff performer. He was unbelievable last year. He won the World Series MVP the year before, as this one is hit high and fairly deep in the left field, but it will be caught. The Marlins still have not scored since the first inning as it remains tied at 2, and we move into the 7th. The biggest 3 innings of our season as we look to keep the season alive. If we fall down 2-0, again, we're in a lot of trouble. So Joe Shearer will come into the game. He's been a little inconsistent throughout the playoffs, but he retires the side there. Bottom 7, Bieber's done. He'll be replaced by Adrian Morejon, the lefty. He retires the side, and we move into the 8th. 2-3-4 up for the Cubs. And we're going to play the rest of this game. With how close this is in such an important game, we're going to go the rest of the way. And already, starting off very strong, as Pete Crow Armstrong rips a double. PCA is really fast as well, so that doesn't help. Luis Arraez, big swing and a miss on the fastball. Great pitch by Joe Shearer. That'll bring up Ian Happ now, who hits this one well into right. That one's gone, and the Cubs lead it 4-2. Ian Happ with his 2nd home run of the postseason. A very untimely time to allow the homer if you're Joe Shearer, mislocating the high fastball. And he's going to be yanked out of the game, replaced by Camilo Duvall, looking to make sure the Cubs can't add to their lead. Harold Ramirez hits it sharply into right center. Wood makes a good angle on the ball. That will only be a single, but the Cubs add another base runner. Their offense is looking really strong right now. George Watkins, though, will strike out. Good pitch by Duvall. Now against Oscar Colas. This one's on the ground. Could be a close play. Throw to first is in time from Jazz Chisholm, but the Marlins allowed 2 with the homer by Ian Happ, and they trail 4-2 going into the bottom of the 8th as the Cubs are going to bring in the back end of their bullpen, and that starts with the righty Jose Urias, who has not allowed any runs so far in the postseason, and it's the top of the order up for Miami. That starts with James Wood, who goes down on the high fastball. With him being 6'7", he's got a bigger strike zone, but even that pitch was too high. Jazz Chisholm finds himself ahead 3-1, and Jazz hits this one high and deep into right center. At the track, at the wall, it's gone! Solo home run for Jazz Chisholm, his first of the postseason, and he picked a good time to do it. That one goes 437 feet, an absolute piss missile. And the Marlins are back in the game, hopefully, as it's now 4-3. Still some work to do, but progress. Woody Landry now up for the Marlins. Homered earlier in the game as he skies this one high. That one's not overly deep, and it will be caught for the second out of the inning. That'll bring up Isaac Stu now. He has a hit and a walk today. He's been one of the few productive players on offense, and he's ahead again, 3-1. Ooh, that's a tough one to lay off, but he's going to let that one go by, being ahead in the count, draws the walk. Tying run is on base, and Leo Zavala will come in to replace Urias. Zavala's allowed 1 run in 6 postseason innings as he'll face off against Jesus Sanchez, who lives for these moments in October. This one is hit high and deep into right center. At the track, at the wall, it's caught. I thought that one might have had enough room to get out. Unfortunately, not quite. As we go to the 9th, 4-3 your score, 8-9-1, due up for the Cubs. That starts with Owen Cassie, who puts it on the ground. Khalil Watson makes the play. Edwin Arroyo now hits it sharply into left. That'll drop for a hit. And the Cubs get a runner aboard here with 1 away. We'll see if they can add to their lead as that brings up Daniel Bonilla, top of the order. Bonilla hits it pretty well into left, and now there's 2 runners on as the runner on second thought about going a little further, but he will wisely retreat back. Duvall will be taken out of the game. He'll be replaced by Emmanuel Clase, who has had his ups and downs in the month of October for us, and now he's got to get us out of the jam as he strikes out Pete Crow Armstrong on the cutter, coming in at 98. That'll bring up the former Marlin Luis Arise, who sends this ball on a rise, deep in right center. That one's gone, and the Cubs appear to have put this game out of reach. 3-run homer for Luis Arise, and it is a 7-3 Cubs lead. Ian Happ strikes out. That'll wrap up the frame. Not a particularly good one from the bullpen, who has not had a good day. And the Marlins need 4 in this inning against the lefty closer Luke Purcell. Otherwise, they will trail in the series 2-0. That starts with Melendez. Should not have swung at that pitch, trying to do too much as he goes down on the high fastball. Jacob Berry's had a nice day today, pair of doubles, and he hits this one well into left, but it will be caught, and the Marlins are 1 out away from doing exactly what teams don't want to do in the first 2 games of the postseason series. Lose them both at home, as that one is fair for Peter Gillis into right. Gillis keeps the game alive as the speedster makes it to second with a double. You got to start somewhere, right? The Marlins now the runner in scoring position. That'll bring us to Kevin Alcantara. Hasn't done much of anything today, 0 for 3. As he puts it on the ground, this should do it. Throw from Luis Arise to first is in time. And the Cubs are 2 games away from making the World Series as they defeat the Marlins by a final score of 7-3. It was not the starting pitching today. Tyrell Berry was really good for the most part. He only allowed 1 earned run. It was the bullpen who did not have a good performance really whatsoever. Duvall was not good. Clase was not good. Shearer was not good. Those are our 3 most dependable relievers, and those guys are the reasons why we lost. The offense was obviously a lot better than it was in Game 1. That's not exactly much of the bar, but they were better. There's that. That's going to send us into Game 3, and we are in trouble. We've got to win at least 2 on the road at Wrigley Field. We've played against the Cubs in the postseason a whole lot over the past 5 years. I think this is our 4th separate time going against them. And a common theme of whenever we play against the Cubs in a postseason series is that we beat them. I don't think we've lost to these guys in a playoff series. We own them. But knowing that, the Cubs obviously have a chip on their shoulder. They take 2 in Miami. And now we've got to respond on the road in cold, rainy Chicago. After getting to spend a lot of time in Miami and the last series in Los Angeles. So the weather is certainly going to lead to a different feeling. Alfonso Estrada gets the start for the Cubs, looking to put them ahead 3-0 and basically put this series pretty much out of reach for the Marlins. If they can barely come back down 2-0, it's going to be hard to come back down 3-0, and that's a good start. 2-run homer for Isaac Stu. Way to set the tone. Landry single. Sanchez walk. 2 runners aboard here with 1 away. Wood strikes out. Berry grounds out. We could have gotten more in that inning, but I'm not going to complain. We start the game on the board with a 2-run shot. Luis Arise at second after a walk and a stolen base. He will not score, however, as Adael Amador goes yard and Jazz Chisholm joins him. Back-to-back home runs. The Marlins add 2 more in the second, and they lead it 4-0. The offense needed to start off strong, and boy, do they. Meanwhile, on the pitching front, Edward Cabrera's looking good, per usual. We chose to start him today with how big of the game this is, as Melendez goes deep. Now it's 5-0. Cabrera has allowed a handful of walks, but no hits so far, as he gets through 3 scoreless. Into the 4th now, Estrada finally gets a scoreless inning, but it might not matter as long as Cabrera is pitching the way he does. He allows a hit to Ramirez, but no scores. We go into the 5th. Yohan Adon is in for Chicago. He allows a single and a walk. However, he strikes out James Wood. Cabrera then allows a homer here in the bottom of the 5th from Edwin Arroyo, but we're going to get one right back with an RBI double by Kevin Alcantara, scoring Berry from first. That'll make it 6-1 as we get a walk and then a fielder's choice. We're going to hop in here. I think this is a great opportunity to potentially put the game out of reach with runners on the corners and one away for Isaac Stu. This one will go into the gap in right center. 7-1 Marlins. Jazz Chisholm rounds third, looks to score. He will with ease. It's a 2-run double for Isaac Stu, and the Marlins take an 8-1 lead. That's going to bring up Woody Landry now. A little lefty-on-lefty crime. Woody with a pair of hits today, looking to add some more, as he will draw a walk. That works too. Luke Purcell, by the way, is in the game now. He replaces Yohan Adon. Jesus Sanchez now sends this one in the left. That pitch was on the outside part of the zone, and it will be caught for the second out. Big at bat here now for well-known lefty masher MJ Melendez, who didn't do as well against lefties this year for what it's worth. But he's got 2 on, and he will bloop this one into left. Can it drop? No. So the Marlins leave 2 aboard, but they get a run back and lead it 6-1 through the middle of the 6th. Cabrera still looking strong. He's got at least one more inning out of him, hopefully, as we move into the bottom of the 6th. He will allow a base hit here to Ramirez. That's going to bring up George Watkins, and he is out. Cabrera has had no 1-2-3 innings today. Oddly enough, he's allowed a base runner in every inning. Wood and Berry start the 7th off with singles, but we get doubled up. Don't score anyone. Bottom 7. 2-run homer for Edwin Arroyo, his second of the game. We're going to take Cabrera out. Good start overall for Edward Cabrera, as it is 8-3, moving into the 8th. Isaac Stu goes deep again. Woody Landry goes deep, and it's 10-3. So Brock Burke is quickly taken out for the former Marlin Tanner Scott. Matthew Liberatore will pitch for us, probably for the rest of the way, as a runner was thrown out looking to score, but the Cubs would get 2 back. They're actually hitting the ball really well, so much so that we feel like we have to take Liberatore out of the game. He'll be replaced by Camilo Duvall, who allowed some big hits in Game 2. Can he get out of it? Yes, he does. It remains a 5-run deficit going into the 9th inning. Zavala comes in for the Cubs, and he's going to allow even more hits. 2 on now for Jazz Chisholm, and he strikes out. Bottom 9, Andres Vina will look to close the deal. Arise draws a walk. Ian Happ draws a walk. Runners on 2nd and 3rd for Watkins. He grounds out, and that'll do it. The Marlins win Game 3 by the score of 10-5. Our offense had been underwhelming the first 2 games. We needed to step up. And boy, did we, scoring double digits on the road in the rain. The offense had certainly their best game of the postseason so far. I think we went deep 5 separate times, I want to say. And we were good with guys on base. The pitching did their job. Edward Cabrera with a good start. When we need him to perform in the biggest games of the year, he steps up per usual. And we've still got some work to do, but we've got a little bit of momentum going into Game 4. As it's now a 2-1 series. Geronimo Gonzalez will get the start, his second career postseason outing. His first one was a pretty good one. So here's to hoping second time around ends up being strong as well. Even though we won the last game and are starting to get some momentum back, we don't want to go down 3-1. I mean, the Cubs themselves have experience being down 3-1 and coming back, but regardless, it's very hard to do. We would have to win 3 in a row, and, well, it's not overly likely. So hopefully the offense can have another strong game, just as they did in Game 3. Big opportunity for the fellas to show up. Let's see if they can do it. The Cubs are going to roll with the lefty, Jose Suarez, who had a pretty good first postseason start. 6 innings, 2 earned runs. One of the veterans of this rotation. The offense is coming off a double-digit scoring game. So hopefully we can put up similar numbers and look to tie the series at 2. Suarez, of course, being a lefty means the Marlins are going to shift things around in terms of the order, as Isaac Stu rips a single, and we don't get anything off of that. Geronimo Gonzalez looking for another good postseason start as he allows a double to Luis Arraez. And I think we're going to hop in here. We're going to hop into more moments as the series goes along, being that these games are getting more and more important as it goes forward. Ian Happ flies out to left, caught by Kevin Alcantara. So both teams get runners in the first, but no damage as we move into the second. Couple of lefties up early for the Marlins. 5 of the first 6 batters are lefties, but a lot of these guys, Melendez, Jazz, Wood, these guys hit lefties really well. Sanchez has struggled against left-handed pitching this year. He ends up striking out. Can we get anything else? As James Wood hit by pitch. That's one way to get a runner on. And then a 2-run blast to make it 2-0. Kevin Alcantara, the former Cubs prospect, is the one to put us on the board. That's a good start. After hitting 5 home runs in the last game, Harold Ramirez gets one right back, though, and it's 2-1. Watkins with a single. Now Geronimo's not looking too good. He allows 2 hits to start the inning. Hopefully we don't let Watkins in to potentially tie the game. And it looks like that will end up not happening unless Edwin Arroyo has anything to say about it, and he doesn't. So both teams go deep in the second. Marlins lead 2-1 as we move into the third inning. Let's see if our offense can continue the momentum that we were able to kind of start building in that last frame. Doesn't look like it's going to happen here. And Woody Landry draws a walk. Okay, there's something. Jazz Chisholm with a single. Woody over to third. 2 on, 2 away. Interesting opportunity here for Jesus Sanchez. The inning looked like a lost cause, but then we get 2 base runners. And Sanchez goes down looking. That pitch looked outside. I don't think it was a strike, at least in real time, but Sanchez, unfortunately, does not get the call. Suarez got him looking. Marlins leave 2 runners aboard as it remains 2-1, and we move into the bottom of the third. Gonzalez has allowed a handful of hits so far, along with, obviously, the homer. So hopefully he can have a better inning against the top of the order. Retires to side, and we move into the 4th inning now. James Wood opens things up with a hit. Alcantara drives him in. It's 3-1. And Alcantara has been responsible for all 3 runs today. So the Marlins add to their lead. They won't add anything more, but still a good inning as we go to the bottom of the 4th. Gonzalez went around 4 innings in his first postseason start. Keep in mind, I think the leash is going to be a little bit longer, especially if he continues to pitch well, allowing a double play. And we move into the 5th inning now. The offense looking to keep things rolling as Woody Landry rips a double with 1 away. Can either Jazz or Sanchez drive them in? The answer for Jazz is no. What about Sanchez, though? Count is full. Suarez remains in the game as Sanchez rips this one into the gap. That was a rocket off the bat. Nearly 110 exit velo. Runner scores. It's 4-1 as Sanchez is in with a double. With the offense hitting the ball well over these last couple of innings, you'd think the Cubs would be considering a pitching change, but for now, Suarez is going to stay in the game, and I think that's going to prove to be a mistake. James Wood, base hit into center. Sanchez scores, and it's 5-1. So these 2 lefties, Sanchez and Wood, come up big as the Marlins add to their lead. And indeed, Suarez is knocked out of the game. He'll be replaced by Yohan Adon, looking to keep the lead at 5-1. The last thing the Cubs need is for this game to get out of hand again. The Marlins to take 2 on the road and tie the series up at 2. Jacob Berry, full count, grounds it to short, flips it over to second. And so the Cubs get out of the inning, but a good one nonetheless for the Marlins. They had 2 more runs. We're in a good spot right now. We lead 5-1, but again, with how important this game is, we cannot let our pedal off the metal. Hopefully we can get a couple more innings out of Gonzalez now that we trust him, and now that he's pitching again well here in the postseason. He started slow today, but he's only allowed 1 hit since the second as he retires to side, and we move into the 6th inning now. Adon still in the game for Chicago. He allows an early base runner with Alcantara. He scores off of an RBI double by Adael Amador, and it's 6-1. MJ Melendez drives him in. Now it's 7-1. Stu with a single. Only 1 out after the fielder's choice by Woody Landry, as that's going to bring up Jazz Chisholm. He gets a double. Run scores. It's 8-1. How is Adon still in the game? Finally, he's taken out, replaced by Luke Purcell. As James Wood rips a 2-run single, it's 10-1. Back-to-back games with double-digit runs. Our offense needed to wake up, and boy, did they. I don't think we need Geronimo Gonzalez the rest of the way. He's going to be taken out of the game and replaced by Matthew Liberatore. Hopefully he doesn't make things close like he did in Game 3 as he allows a couple hits but gets out of the inning. I think we can get through the rest of this game pretty quickly with the Marlins up by 9 in cruise control in the bottom of the 7th. Solid inning from Liberatore once again into the 8th. The offense continuing to get hits. No scoring, though. Liberatore, meanwhile, continuing to do his thing. We should be able to finish it off now here in the 9th. We had another run, though, with a triple by Kevin Alcantara, who is 4 for 4 today. He might have hit for the cycle. I don't know. He was close. James Wood also goes 4 for 4 today as the Marlins win this one by the final score of 11-1. The Marlins offense scored 3 runs in the first 2 games, but they've scored 21 over the last 2, scoring double digits here in games 1 and 2 against Chicago. Game 3 was about the long ball. Today, not so much. We utilized some home runs, but a lot of extra base hits. Clutch hitting, that's been an issue with this team, again, since the start of the series. But thankfully today, when guys were on base, we capitalized, and we tied the series up at 2 with 17 hits and, of course, 11 runs driven in. Wood goes 4 for 4, 3 runs, 3 RBIs. Alcantara went 4 for 5, not 4 for 4. He still drives in 4 and scores twice. Alcantara did, in fact, hit for the cycle as well. Single, double, triple, homer. That's pretty cool. A postseason cycle game. That's only the second cycle in postseason history. The first one was by Brock Holt, of all people, in 2018 with the Red Sox, who I think, like us, won 108 games that year. The Red Sox ended up winning the World Series. Does that mean we will as well? Got to give a shout out to Geronimo Gonzalez as well. 2 really strong postseason starts in a row for him. So the Marlins, after losing the first 2 games at home, take 2 on the road, and that brings us into a pivotal Game 5. Right now, we've got the momentum. We've taken 2 games in a row at Wrigley. The offense is on a heater. We've scored 21 runs over the last 2 games, and we've got quite the opportunity to take some momentum with the veteran Casey Mize getting the start for the Marlins. He'll go up against the young lefty Carlos Vasquez. If the Cubs lose this game, they're in a lot of trouble. The Cubs went back to Chicago feeling good, up 2-0, thinking that they're going to clinch the series, and now they're in danger of trailing, returning to Miami. So this is a super pivotal game for both sides. Again, common theme here. Each game seems to be getting more and more important as it goes on. That's the nature of the MLB postseason. I'm not expecting our offense to score 10 or 11, but if we can continue to have clutch hitting, and who knows, maybe another cycle, that'd be pretty cool, then I think we could be in a good spot. Although Vasquez is a good pitcher, although he has not pitched yet in the entire postseason. His first postseason appearance of the year. If you remember when we played the Cubs 2 years ago, they had Vasquez pitch a little bit, and those were his first big league appearances. Since then, he's actually been a full-time starter, and again, he's been a pretty good player as he allows an early hit to James Wood, who now has 5 consecutive at-bats with a hit. Unfortunately, we don't score anybody as we go to the bottom of the first. Casey Mize on the mound. He has not started a game yet in the postseason until now. He was used out of the bullpen in Game 4 against the Dodgers, relieving Geronimo Gonzalez. So far, neither offense has really gotten much of anything going. Vasquez is looking good, while Casey Mize has not allowed a base runner yet, and we move into the 3rd. Vasquez still has only allowed 1 hit. The offense continuing to struggle, but look at this. Brujan with a hit, James Wood with another hit. Runners on the corners, 2 away. Big opportunity for Woody Landry to get the Marlins on the board first. Count is even, 2-2, and Woody hits this one well into right. At the track, at the wall, it is caught. That was close. Marlins could have led 3-0, but it dies out at the shrubs as Oscar Colas comes down with it. James Wood, by the way, 6 of 6 in his last 2 games. He has 2 of our 3 hits today. Bottom 3, will Casey Mize continue to dominate? Hasn't allowed a base runner yet until now. I jinxed him. Oscar Colas opens up the inning with a base hit, so Chicago has a runner aboard. Owen Cassie draws a walk. There's 2 runners on base. That'll bring up Edwin Arroyo now, and we're going to hop in. There's nobody out, but this could get ugly if Casey Mize is unable to get out of the jam as Arroyo strikes out. That's a big one for Mize. Back to the top of the order. Bonilla, liner to 3rd. Berry makes the play for the 2nd out. and the Cubs could be in danger of not getting these 2 runners across who they got on at the start of the inning unless they get a base hit from Pete Crow Armstrong, who hits it to first. Woody Landry tags the base, and Casey Mize gets out of the pickle as it remains scoreless through 3. We haven't exactly had pitching duels over the last couple of games, so I guess that's kind of refreshing as we move into the 4th. Jesus Sanchez, solo homer, and the Marlins are the first ones on the board. Kevin Alcantara keeping the offensive flow going with a hit. Our second trip around the lineup's been a lot better than the first one as Melendez draws a walk. 2 on, 2 away for Brujan. He's hit by a pitch. And oh God, the bases are loaded. I will say though, if there's anybody who's been successful with the bases loaded in this series, it's James Wood. They called that pitch a ball. It was very clearly a strike. So the Marlins dodge a bullet. Wood's going to get another opportunity as he hits it into left field, and it is caught. I think I've hit 3 grand slams in this series with James Wood. That's probably more than I have hit with everybody else combined, I would think. He doesn't get one here, though, leaving him loaded. But the Marlins do score with the homer by Sanchez. Could have gotten more, though, as we move into the bottom of the 4th. Casey Mize pitching brilliantly so far. Still is not allowed a run yet in the postseason as he lets up a walk to Ian Happ. Will the Cubs be able to drive them in? It's the catcher, George Watkins, and he grounds out. 4 very strong innings for Mize. I think he's only striking out like 1 or 2 guys. But he hasn't needed the swing and miss stuff today. He's been really reliable as we move into the 5th now. Vasquez still in the game for the Cubs. He's slowing down after a really good start as he gets through the 5th inning pretty easily. Sanchez reached off of an error, but nothing more. Bottom 5th, still nothing for the Cubs offense. Casey Mize is shoving right now, and we move into the 6th, still 1-0. Vasquez's energy starting to deplete. They will take him out of the game here. He'll be replaced by Adrian Marrejón, who allows a walk to Kevin Alcantara, early base runner. Vidal Brujan with a hit. 2 on, 2 away for James Wood, who's hitting .368 in the postseason. That number's got to be even higher against the Cubs alone, probably over 500 in this series. He has been raking here in the NLCS. 2 on, 2 away, full count for Wood. Liner into right center. At the track, at the wall, it's gone! 3-run homer for James Wood. And the Marlins lead it 4-0. One of the biggest plays of the entire NLCS so far. James Wood has been unbelievable offensively against the Cubs, but none of his hits have been as big as this one. His first home run of the postseason, a 3-run blast to put the Marlins up 4-0. And with how Casey Mize has been pitching today, presumably that should be more than enough in terms of run support. What a play for Wood, who has 3 hits while the rest of their team only has 4. And in hindsight, maybe the Cubs should have stuck with Vasquez and not brought Marrejón into the game. Bottom 6, 1, 2, 3 for Mize again. If he keeps this up, he looks like he could go the entire way. Into the 7th, Marrejón is yanked for the former Marlin Tanner Scott. He allows an early walk and another one. 2 on, nobody out for Jesus Sanchez. Big opportunity to add to this lead, and he does. With an RBI single, it's 5-0. Still 2 runners on base as Alcantara doubles up, and that'll wrap up the inning. It's 5-0 now going into the bottom of the 7th, and finally, the Cubs get some offense with a solo homer by Harold Ramirez, and it's 5-1. So Mize finally lets up a runner. He then allows a walk to Watkins and then another walk to Owen Cassie. Mize has been brilliant today, but he's slowing down. We're going to take him out for Camilo Duvall, who gets out of the inning. Still 5-1 into the 8th. Luke Purcell in for the Cubs. They have used all lefties today, which is an interesting strategy. It hasn't really worked considering they trail. Bottom 8, single for a rise, nothing more. Into the 9th, another lefty, Brock Burke, into the game as he lets up a base hit to Isaac Stu. The middle of the lineup's been very unproductive today. Despite a solid game offensively, Stu, Woody, and Jazz have 1 hit between the 3 of them. Emmanuel Clase is going to come in here for the bottom of the 9th. It's a 4-run game, so not a traditional save situation, but I don't want any funny business here. I want to take the 3-2 lead, and that's exactly what happens. So the Miami Marlins lead the NLCS 3-2 as we win this game 5-1. What an interesting development by the Marlins going into Chicago and winning all 3 games on the road after losing the first 2 at home. We needed to make a statement at Wrigley, and boy, did we. 26 runs across the 3 games. Our offense was by far the worst today, but still 5 runs, 9 hits, very solid. James Wood is a beast, 3 for 5, including the big 3-run homer in the 6th inning. That was ultimately the difference maker. As I said, I expected that to be enough run support, and it was, because Casey Mize was absolutely fantastic today. He allowed 1 hit through 6 innings, then started to slow down, but luckily the bullpen finished off the job. Obviously, the storyline has been how good our offense has been, but the pitching deserves a lot of credit as well. Back-to-back-to-back, really good starts from Cabrera, Gonzalez, and Mize. The first 2 times, we took Cabrera and Gonzalez out of the game early because we were up by so much. That time, we got to keep Mize in a little bit longer, and he ended up nearly going 7. So that brings us into Game 6. The Marlins have won 3 in a row, but we haven't won at home yet against the Cubs. We lost the first 2 games. We better hope the road team winning does not continue to be a trend. If the Marlins win tonight, we're going back to the World Series for a 3rd time in 4 years, with one of the Rangers or the Red Sox awaiting. The Rangers currently lead the NLCS 3-2 over Boston as it stands right now. Miami, winners of 3 in a row in Chicago. They just need to win 1 at home. They couldn't do it the first time around, but hopefully we can do it here. Again, all we need is 1. With Robbie Jones getting the start today, and if the Marlins lose, it'll be Edward Cabrera in Game 7. Ideally, that doesn't happen because we want Cabrera as well rested for the World Series as possible, but we've got to focus on this game first. Robbie Jones has not been all that good in either postseason start yet, so I feel like he's got a chip on his shoulder with a lot to prove. The Marlins rocking the City Connect jerseys as well. Let's see what the Cubs can do. They know they need to start the game off strong after losing 3 in a row, and immediately opening things up with a double for Daniel Bonilla. Runner in scoring position, a speedy one at that, as he steals 3rd, and Luis Arraez drives him in, so the Cubs needed to get some early offense, and that they do. Arraez then steals 2nd. The Cubs have been really aggressive on the bases to start, with 2 stolen bags. The ace, Bobby Miller, gets the start for the Cubs. He allows a leadoff walk to James Wood, who continues to dominate. And then Woody Landry goes deep. 2-run blast for Woody, and it's 2-1. So the Marlins offense with a quick response, picking up right where they left off from the series earlier in Wrigley. The Cubs offense is going to continue to hit the ball well. They get a double for Oscar Colas, unable to drive him in as we move into the bottom of the 2nd now. Kevin Alcantara solo homer. Vidal Brujan solo homer. Back-to-back dingers. It's 4-3. All 3 of our hits are homers, and we're going back to living and dying by the long ball. The Cubs do get 2 runners on base here. Big at bat for Harold Ramirez as it's up the middle. Jazz Chisholm flips it over to Vidal Brujan, and Robbie Jones gets out of the jam. Jones has allowed a handful of base runners so far today, but overall, he's only allowed 1 run. He could be doing worse. He could be Bobby Miller, who's allowed 3 homers already. Miller does retire the side in the 3rd as we move to the 4th. Early single for Watkins. Double for Colas. 2 runners in scoring position. Strikeout. Ground out. Big at bat now for the leadoff man, Daniel Bonilla, who's ahead 2-0. And Bonilla ties it. That one's gone into right. And this game just got real interesting. All the momentum has belonged with the Marlins after winning 3 in a row and starting today's game off super well. But Daniel Bonilla sends that one into the seats, his first home run of the postseason, and it could not have come at a better time for the Cubs. They needed a big play to potentially save their season, and they get exactly that. Pete Crow Armstrong gets that one by Jazz Chisholm. That one goes into the gap. He's looking for 2. Not only did the Cubs tie the game, wow, he was almost out. Not only did the Cubs tie the game, but they have a chance to take the lead. Who else would you want up here in this situation with a runner in scoring position other than Luis Arraez? PCA steals 3rd, another stolen bag for the Cubs. Their strategy is to be aggressive. Their season's on the line. They're thinking, F it. Let's go all in. Jacob Berry bobbles it at 3rd, and Luis Arraez is safe. So the run scores off of an E5 by Jacob Berry. Remember the last time Berry had an error in an inning where the other team scored 4? Well, that was in the last episode in the elimination game against the Dodgers, and he went deep in the bottom half of the inning. So we better hope we get the same result, or else that could be a problem. Ian Happ lines out to left, is caught by Alcantara. Well, that was not good. The Marlins allow 4, and Chicago gets a semblance of life for the first time in a while, as it's 5-4, the 3-run homer by Daniel Bonilla, and then another runner, Pete Crow Armstrong, scoring off of an error. Now into the bottom of the fourth. The offense needs to respond. We don't have any hits other than home runs today. It's nice having 3 dingers, but we need more base runners as Melendez reaches, doesn't score though, into the fifth. Robbie Jones is going to stay in the game. The Marlins believe in him. He gets 2 outs. We're just going to roll with him as he retires the side. Bottom 5, Bobby Miller really looks to be getting into a groove. The Cubs were patient with him despite allowing the 3 homers, and it pays off as we move into the 6th. 5-4 your score. Adolfo Jimenez is into the game now. He's been very good as of late, and he gets through the inning. Bottom 6, walk for Landry. Double play immediately. Awesome. Let's go into the 7th now, and I think we're going to play the rest of the game. Super important final 3 innings, and obviously if we lose, we're going to play all of Game 7. So no more quick managing. It's all up to the in-game results. Ian Happ blasts this one into right. That one is gone into like the little concourse dungeon area. Happ's 4th home run of the postseason, and the Cubs add to their lead. It's now 6-4. So while our offense has cooled down with nothing since the 2nd, the Cubs are continuing to hit the ball well. Jimenez is taken out of the game. He'll be replaced by Andres Vina, who's only allowed 1 run so far in the postseason. Harold Ramirez has been good for the Cubs throughout this postseason series, although he goes down looking on the inside forkball. 2 away now for the catcher, George Watkins, and he lines it to first. Woody Landry snags it, but Ian Happ goes deep to put the Cubbies ahead 6-4 as we go bottom 7. The lefty, Adrian Morejon, is into the game. He's allowed some big hits against us early in the series, but the Cubs are going to continue to believe in him, hoping that he can keep their lead. Melendez leads things off, 6, 7, 8 hitters as he strikes out on the fastball. Not the start we were looking for. Kevin Alcantara now up for the Marlins, and this one is grounded down the line. What a play at third! Bonilla with the throw to first. An unbelievable snag at the hot corner by Daniel Bonilla for the 2nd out of the inning. That'll bring up Jacob Berry, who has had a really underrated postseason. He's been producing for us again in October, seemingly as he does every year, and he's going to keep it rolling. Into the gap, extra bases, a double for Berry, and the Marlins have a runner in scoring position. This is a big opportunity to get some momentum back, bring yourselves back into the game. Huge at bat here for the veteran second baseman, Vidal Brujan. It's going to go into right center. It's got a chance, and it will be caught. So the Cubs get out of the inning as it remains a 2-run lead for Chicago, and we jump into the 8th now. Andres Vina is going to stay in the game, a guy who, of course, can go multiple innings. Colas, first pitch swinging, hit sharply over to Vidal Brujan. That ball apparently went 87 off the bat. It feels like it went 107. That was a rocket. Owen Cassie now hits it sharply to third. Woody Landry snags it, fields it cleanly for the 2nd out of the inning. Edwin Arroyo now finds himself behind in the count 0-2. Pitch from Vina. Skied into left, Alcantara under it. A quick and easy 6-pitch inning for Andres Vina as it remains 6-4, and we go into the bottom of the 8th inning. Leo Zavala in for the Cubs. Again, it's time for the back end of their bullpen to look to finish the game off strong and have road teams improve to 6-0 in the NLCS. Quiet game for James Wood with how good he's been against Chicago. What a play at second by Luis Arraez, but the throw is offline. They're going to call that an error against Arraez, which is the right call. He did miss the throw, but it is unfortunate for him because that was a really good play. So James Wood starts the inning on base for Jazz Chisholm, who's immediately going to likely ground into a double play. Great. Oh, he's safe! Okay, good hustle by Jazz Chisholm. It's a fielder's choice. That could have been a lot worse. There's a runner still on base, and a fast one at that. A faster one than Wood. So if anything, I guess I was kind of successful. That was not a success, though. Woody Landry swings and misses at the splitter. Good pitch by Zavala. 2 away now for Isaac Stu. He's ahead early, 2-0. Stu 0 for 3 today as he puts it on the ground. Base hit. So there's 2 runners on base now. Tying run is at first. The potential winning run is at the plate. And it's who else but Jesus Sanchez, a guy who's made countless big hits throughout the entire series in the postseason. How about another? First pitch, hits it high, Not deep enough. It's caught by Oscar Colas. And the Cubs get out of the inning. Marlins leave 2 aboard as it remains 6-4 and we go into the 9th. Camilo Doval has been a workhorse here in the postseason, and it hasn't always been perfect with him, but overall he's been pretty good. As Bonilla starts off, pops this one into left. Alcantara under it for out number 1. Just got to make sure we don't let the Cubs add to this lead. A 2-run deficit's already enough as is. Pete Crow Armstrong draws a walk. That's not good because he is fast. Luis Ariz on the ground. This could be due. It's going to be close. Brujan to Jazz over to first. And no, they don't turn 2. It's a fielder's choice. Luis Ariz is safe. Ian Happ hits it into left center. Alcantara under it, and he will make the play. Good inning for Duvall. He only allows 1, and it's a 2-run lead going into the bottom of the 9th inning. Can the Marlins shock the world and advance to the World Series with a walk-off, or will Xavier Ebner get the save and bring it to 7? Ebner is 2 for 2 in save ops this postseason, but he does have an ERA at nearly 7. 6, 7, 8 hitters due up. We'll start with Melendez. Fly ball into left. It is caught for the first out of the inning by Ian Happ. That'll bring up Kevin Alcantara. He has also had a really good postseason. He's had to step up with Brian De La Cruz injured. I think he's done a pretty good job. Case in point, base hit. The tying run is now at the plate. A home run would theoretically tie the game. It's Jacob Berry who's got 2 hits today. He's been really solid. Count is 1-0. Pitch from Ebner. Berry hits this one high and deep into center. Not deep enough, though. It's caught by Pete Crow Armstrong for the second out of the inning. And the Marlins are down to their final out. Will we be heading to 7? Replacing Vidal Brujan will be the pinch hitter, Khalil Watson. Watson's a little bit more consistent against righties as he hits this one barely into fair territory. It's going to drop! Happ can't make the play. Everybody's moving. Alcantara will score. It's an RBI double for Khalil Watson, and the Marlins have a pulse. The tying run is on second base. Big postseason hit for Watson as a pinch hitter off the bench, and that brings up James Wood, who's been brilliant for the Marlins. That was the pitch. Slider up and away. Wood was going for the fences. He wants to end this right now, but he's behind 0-2. Pitch from Ebner. Swinging a miss on the slider. No walk-off hero for James Wood. The Cubs live and survive. They win it 6-5, and folks, we are headed to a game 7. What a game, as the road team is now 6-0 in the NLCS. Please, Lord, I don't ask much, but don't let the trend continue for game 7. Once again, it was the 4th inning. Very similar to Robbie Jones's first postseason start against the Cubs, back in game 1, where he allowed 3 runs in the 4th, and there was no other runs the rest of the game. Our offense was fine. 5 hits is usually enough to win. But the 4th inning was rough. The bullpen allowed some big hits. And that's going to bring us into Game 7. Here we go. For all the marbles, Edward Cabrera, of course, on the mound. I expected to see Shane Bieber pitch. That might not be the case for the Cubs. We'll see what they ultimately choose to do. We're going to play the whole game, obviously. I mean, it's Game 7, for Christ's sakes. Winner goes to the World Series. Loser is eliminated. In this series, we have played 3 Game 7s. Season 4, NLCS against the Phillies. Lost it. Game 7 of the World Series in Year 5 against the Rays. Lost. Then Game 7 of the NLCS against the Mets in Season 6. That time we won it. We're 1-2 all-time in Game 7s. There's a common theme with all 3 of those games, and that would be that Brian De La Cruz homered in each of them. Of course, we're not going to have him available today. Here is Edward Cabrera, Elimination Game Eddie. There are not many guys who have pitched in more elimination games than Edward Cabrera, and he has pitched well in pretty much every single one of them. Well, it's time to do it again. He starts with Daniel Bonilla, who chases Below's slider for the first out of the inning. Pete Crow Armstrong now hits this one sharply into left center. Wood will not make the play, and it rolls to the wall. That one will go for a double, and the Cubs get a runner in scoring position, and again, one of their fastest ones at that. 2 gone now for Ian Happ. Pops it into foul territory. Wasted opportunity for Chicago as Woody Landry snags it down, and Cabrera gets out of the first despite allowing a double to PCA. So interestingly, it will not be Shane Bieber But instead, it's Alfonso Estrada. Bieber hasn't pitched since Game 2, and he has had 2 great postseason starts this year. Estrada, not so much. I would have to imagine Bieber is going to be available in the bullpen. Nice play at first there by Harold Ramirez, snagging the liner from Jazz Chisholm. Woody Landry now. Woody's hitting .390 in the postseason. Couple of big homers as well, but he goes down on the splitter, and Estrada retires the side, looking to make me eat my words as we go into the second. Harold Ramirez leads things off for the Cubs. Swinging a miss on the fastball. Good pitch there by Cabrera. George Watkins now bloops this one into right. Is it going to drop? It does! Woody's going to continue to charge for the ball as it's a base hit for George Watkins. Didn't hit it well. 55 off the bat, but he didn't need to. It hits a hit. Colas swinging a miss on the fastball. Cabrera's had a lot of swing and miss stuff so far. Looking to keep it going against Owen Cassie. Got him on the slider. 2 scoreless for Cabrera, who's allowed a couple of hits, but overall, he's looked really good so far. Bottom 2. Jesus Sanchez is up with 1 away. Hits it sharply into center for a base hit. So the Marlins get their first base runner of the game. It's Sanchez, the veteran, stepping up in the big moment as he usually does. That'll bring up James Wood, who's been awesome in this series against Chicago. Hits it high and deep into right. At the track, at the wall. It's gone! 2-run homer for James Wood. His second of the NLCS. And the Marlins are on the board first here in Game 7. They lead it 2-0. That ball went awfully high. Only 97 off the bat. Only 350 feet. But that ball took a St. Louis arch type of arc. Let's look at this one again. An absolute beauty from James Wood, who's hitting close to 500 in the NLCS against Chicago. I mean, this guy has been absolutely brilliant. Are we going to get the launch angle? I don't think we will, but it would be a big number. Put it that way. So it's 2-0. Marlins on top off the homer by Wood as we go into the third. Edwin Arroyo goes down to the sinker. That pitch was well out of the strike zone, and the count was 3-1. But Cabrera fooled him. He also fools Daniel Bonilla, who gets a slider right down the middle. I don't know what he was waiting for. 3 scoreless for Cabrera. He's already got 6 strikeouts, I believe, as we go bottom 3. Woody Landry skies it into right center. Colas comes down with it. Overall, Estrada's been pretty good. Obviously, the home run's not ideal, but for the most part, he hasn't allowed a ton of base runners so far as we move into the fourth. Luis Ariz gets plunked. Man, Cabrera's throwing at his former teammates. Got him on the kneecap. So the Cubs start the inning with a runner aboard. It's not going to matter if these guys don't swing the bat, though. Ian Happ strikes out. Here's Ramirez now. Sends it into the gap. That very well could score the run. Ariz, rounding third, heads home. It's going to be close. Actually, not really. He is safe pretty comfortably. An RBI double for Harold Ramirez, and the Cubs are on the board. It's 2-1. That'll bring up George Watkins. Count is full, and he swings and misses. Another punch out for Edward Cabrera. That is his 8th of the game, and we're still in the 4th inning. Oscar Colas with 2 away, puts it on the ground. Might be a tough play. Actually, not really. Jazz Chisholm with the throw. Woody's doing the splits at first base. Cubs add a run, though, with the RBI double by Ramirez, and it's 2-1 going into the bottom of the 4th. Jesus Sanchez hits this one well into center. At the track, at the wall, it's caught. A lot of warning track shots today. James Wood's been able to scrape him over, but the other guys not so much. Let's move into the 5th. Still 2-1. Arroyo checks his swing on the sinker. That's pretty much the same area of the plate that he missed last time. Daniel Bonilla goes down looking on the circle change. 10 strikeouts for Cabrera. He's through 5, only having allowed 1 run. Elimination game Eddie is back. Another dominant showing on the mound so far, because obviously he's not done. Let's go bottom 5. Jacob Berry with a base hit in his first at-bat of the game, looking for another, and he'll get it. Oppo Taco, single into left. Marlins got a man on with 1 away. We haven't gotten a ton of base runners today, but if we can capitalize with Berry on, make this a multi-run lead, we can put ourselves in a good spot the rest of the way. And that is not how you do it. Vidal Brujan grounds into a double play. Chicago gets 2, and it remains 2-1. Again, overall, Estrada's done pretty well, all things considered. As we move into the 6th, Cabrera snags the ball. That was a really nice grab. Cabrera went 6 innings in the elimination game in Game 5. of the NLDS against the Mets, keep in mind, as he allows a walk to Luis Ariz. Ian Happ up the middle, splits Cabrera, splits the infielders for a hit. And oh boy, the Cubs have an opportunity. 2 runners on base, 1 away. They've got to capitalize. This is their opportunity. 2-2. Ramirez into right. Sanchez will make the grab. Runner will not look to tag up. And that's going to bring us to the biggest at bat of the series so far. The number 6 hitter. 2 runners on, 2 away for the catcher, George Watkins. Cabrera still in the game. 1-1 pitch. Is he throwing at him? I don't know about all that. Watkins has to jump out of the batter's box. 2-1 now. Inside again. Obviously, you don't want to allow the walk and load the bases, ideally. But you also don't want to give Watkins a good pitch to hit. Count is 3-1. Watkins into the gap. That's going to drop. Run should score. And this game is tied at 2. George Watkins comes up big for the Cubbies. And they've got a chance to take the lead now. 2 on, 2 away for Oscar Colas. And he will look at the fastball in the strike zone. Called strike 2. Colas has been inconsistent throughout the postseason, but it won't matter if he delivers right here. The 1-2. Wild pitch gets by Melendez. Both runners advance. And that makes things even more tricky because if Colas gets a base hit, both of these guys are probably going to score and make it a 4-2 game. 2-2 pitch outside. A walk isn't the worst thing in the world. It sets up a force out at all 3 bases. Obviously, you want to get him out, though. 3-2 pitch. Pops him up. And Cabrera gets out of the jam as Berry makes the grab. So the Marlins do allow another run, but it could have been a lot worse. 6 innings, 2 earned runs for Cabrera. I imagine this will be it for him. And this is also the end of the road for Estrada. He'll be replaced by Yohan Adon, who has been abysmal for the Cubs. He's allowed 8 runs in 2 postseason innings. I don't know why they're putting him in. Let's see if the Marlins can take advantage. And that's a good start. Single into right for Kevin Alcantara. And the Marlins immediately kicking things off with an early base runner. That's going to bring us to the heart of the order. Starting with Jazz Chisholm, who's been pretty quiet so far today. 0 for 2. As he gets hit. Both of these pitchers and staffs are throwing at guys. What's going on? So there's 2 on. Nobody out. Woody Landry 3-1. Draws a walk. All right. So it's Game 7 of the NLCS. We meet our worst enemy. Bases loaded. With nobody out, you have to score. There's no excuse not to. As Stu lines to center. Both runners are going to look to advance. It's Game 7. We're pushing all our chips forward. And it proves to be a success as Alcantara scores off the sacrifice. And the Marlins are back on top. It's 3-2. Jesus Sanchez now. On the ground, no! It's going to be a 4-6-3 double play. The Marlins had such an opportunity to get more than 1 there. Jesus Sanchez has been so clutch throughout his career that I feel like he deserves a pass. But he chose the wrong time to use the pass. So the Marlins start the inning with the bases loaded. They only get 1, keeping the Cubs in the game. Cabrera's day is in fact done. The Marlins are going to go to the bullpen the rest of the way. This could possibly not go well. When we took Cabrera out in Game 5 against the Mets, all hell ensued. We better hope the same does not happen here. Owen Cassie goes down on the slider. Good pitch by Joe Shearer, who has struggled throughout the postseason, but the Marlins trust him more than some of the other guys, such as Vigna and Jimenez, who have been better. He strikes out Arroyo, and Bonilla lines out to second. So a good 1-2-3 inning for Joe Shearer. Marlins hold on to their 3-2 lead as we go into the bottom of the 7th. MJ Melendez up for the Marlins. This one on the ground. Luis Ariz deflects it. Throw to first is not in time. An infield single for MJ Melendez, and so he is aboard. That will bring us to the following batter, Jacob Berry. He's been really good today. 2 hits already. Count is full. And Berry delivers again. Opposite field single into left. And the Marlins have a great opportunity to really get themselves a cushioned lead. 2 on, 2 away for Kevin Alcantara, who scored in the previous inning. He's ahead 2-1 on the ground. Base hit. Will the runner go home? He will. The throw from Pete Crow Armstrong is not in time, and it's 4-2. RBI single for Kevin Alcantara, and the Marlins are in the driver's seat. They lead by 2. Pitching change for the Cubs. Luke Purcell is in the game now, the lefty. He has not allowed any runs in the postseason. I feel like they should have had him in instead of Yohan Adon, but that's neither here nor there. Jazz Chisholm up with 2 on and 2 away. He skies this one into left. That one is hit shallow, and it's caught by Happ. Good inning, though. The Marlins add another run. We lead by 2 with 2 innings to go. Back end of the bullpen coming in. Duvall for the 8th. Clase presumably for the 9th. There's no way we blow this, right? Come on. There's no way. Duvall has had his ups and downs throughout the postseason, but has mostly been good. However, Pete Crow Armstrong is going to make this game real tight. Homers into right to lead off the 8th, and the lead is right back down to 1. His first home run of the postseason, and again, could not have come at a better time for the Cubs, and it's now 4-3. Luis Arraez hits it well into center. Wood tracks it down. Marlins are 5 outs away from making it to the World Series. Middle of the order is due up for the Cubs. Ian Happ hits it well into left. Alcantara gets the snag. Marlins are 4 outs away from making it back to the World Series for the 3rd time in 4 years. Harold Ramirez now, he's been clutching this series for the Cubs. Does not come up big here. Goes down on the slider. Marlins are 3 outs away, but not an awful inning for the Cubs. They get 1 with the homer by PCA. Bottom 8, Purcell in the game. Woody Landry draws a walk. He might have went around, and the pitch was in the strike zone, but hey, I'm not complaining. We'll take it. So Woody starts the inning with a walk. That'll bring up Isaac Stu. Swings and misses at the fastball. Big pitch for Purcell. He knows he cannot allow any more runs. And, well, I guess he won't because he's going to be taken out of the game. He'll be replaced by Brock Burke. I feel like Purcell was kind of pitching well. He seemed like he was in a role. It's not like they're doing this for the lefty-on-lefty matchup because Purcell is a lefty. So I don't really get the change at all, but so far so good. Burke allows a weak flyout from Jesus Sanchez as it's caught at short by Arroyo for the 2nd out of the inning. James Wood now up for the Marlins. He's been phenomenal against the Cubs throughout the entire postseason, and he's going to get another hit right here. Single in to left. 2 on, 2 away. The Marlins looking to put some icing on the cake, as that's going to bring up MJ Melendez, the catcher, who's behind 1 and 2. Swinging a miss on the outside slider. So Brock Burke gets the Cubs out of the jam. It remains 4-3. And now this is it for all the marbles into the 9th. Emmanuel Clase is in for the save. It's been a roller coaster with him in the postseason, but he's got an opportunity to bring us back into the World Series. Back into the order starts for the Cubs. 6, 7, 8. We open up with George Watkins, who goes down looking. There's 1. The Marlins are 2 outs away from the World Series. Oscar Colas hits this one real well into right center. Wood tracks it down, makes the play. That's 2. The Marlins are 1 out away from getting back to the World Series, and the game all comes down to the number 8 hitter, that being Owen Cassey. If there's one guy I don't think the Cubs wanted up here, it's him. 0 for 3 today, 3 for 23 in the series. They're not going to bring in a pinch hitter. They're going to roll with their guy. And Cassey clutches up into right center. This game is tied at 4. Who would have thought, of all people, Owen Cassey is the hero for Chicago to knot this one up? You really thought it was going to be that easy for us, huh? Not so fast. Owen Cassey, with the play of the year, gets a cutter where he likes it and crushes it. That ball didn't scrape over the fence either. That was a moonshot for Owen Cassey, who sends that one 109 off the bat, 422 feet, to tie it at 4. Wow! Cubs now the chance to potentially take the lead as Arroyo pops this one up into shallow center. It's caught by Jazz. Successful inning, though, for Chicago. They needed a run to keep their season alive, and they do just that. It's Owen Cassey, the hero, who ties it at 4 for Chicago, and we move into the bottom of the 9th. Jacob Berry is 3 for 3 today. How about another? Berry up the middle. That's 4. What a showing in Game 7 for Jacob Berry, who is 4 for 4 today, and he is now the winning runner. Unfortunately for him, he's not going to stay on base because, well, Esteury Ruiz is quite a bit faster. So Ruiz is going to come in the game to pinch run him. Will the Marlins be aggressive with the base running? Have him look to potentially steal second? It's an interesting idea. I don't know if they want to do it with nobody out, though. Who could potentially be the hero? Brujan gets plunked! Okay, bold strategy. I don't think it'll pay off, but okay. And now it's Kevin Alcantara. All he needs is a base hit, and this game is probably over. Count is 2-2 with 2 runners on base and nobody out. Alcantara skies it into center, should be caught. Do the Marlins bring Ruiz up? They will. Throw to third from PCA is a good one. He's out of there! Wow! What a play for the Cubs! Pete Crow Armstrong turns 2. I thought we had a golden opportunity to get in that run, and now there's just 2 away with a runner on first. Brujan looking to swipe second. He's safe as the throw is a little bit overthrown from Watkins. So an aggressive decision to have Brujan steal. It works. And now all the Marlins need is a base hit from Jazz Chisholm to send him to the World Series. Chisholm, a liner, into left center. Brujan rounds third. He's headed home. And Jazz Chisholm has sent the Marlins back to the World Series. 4-5, your final score. And Miami survives, and they're going to the Fall Classic. Wow, what a game, what a series. The Cubs bring us to 7. But just as we've done every time we play against the Cubs in the postseason, we find a way to win. And it was not always pretty. We started down 2-0. We take 3 in Chicago. The Cubs answer back in Game 6. They were clutch, scoring in each of the last 2 innings here in Game 7. But our offense delivers, despite having a runner thrown out. Here earlier in the inning, Jazz Chisholm with a clutch hit to drive in Vidal Brujan wins it for the Marlins to bring us back to the World Series. Well, that was fun. The Cubs gave themselves some opportunities. Owen Cassie, of course, with the big homer in the 9th inning. That was incredible. Who would have thought? Alfonso Estrada, I thought, pitched pretty good. The bullpen was a little shaky, though. Adon, they never should have brought in the game. And then Brock Burke is the one who allows the big hit late. Our offense made plays when they needed to. Edward Cabrera was great again, as he always is in elimination games. The bullpen made it a little bit scary. I was confident Duvall and Clase wouldn't blow it, and they almost did. But luckily the offense comes up clutch, and we've got a date with the Texas Rangers in the 2030 World Series. So the Rangers ended up beating Boston in 6. They only won 87 games. They got second place in their division. But as we look at their playoff run, common theme here. A lot of runs. Look at this elimination game in the wild card round. They played against former Marlin Yuri Perez, who allowed 7 earned runs in the first inning without recording an out. The Rangers would wind up scoring 18 in that game. Against the Astros, great pitching. Against the Red Sox, mashing. I think they had 3 or 4 games of double-digit runs here in the postseason, including, again, 18 in an elimination game. They've made some big moves, specifically signing Justin Kramer in the offseason. The generational draft pick with the Nationals had his best year as a 24-year-old with the Rangers. They had the guy who was drafted above Kramer, Ray Parsons, who's been arguably their best player in the postseason. They've got Adley Rutschman. They still have Seager, Lowe, and Young. And they've gotten big contributions out of guys like Matt Vierling and Taron Vavra, who already has 19 RBIs. Vavra's injured, though, but if he's healthy, he probably breaks the postseason RBI record. In real life, it's 22 by Adolis Garcia this past year. They still have Zach Gallen leading the way in the rotation. He's older, but still really solid, along with youngsters like Ray Castro, who was on the Twins team, who we beat 2 years ago, along with a bunch of former Marlins draft targets with Steven Quisenberry, Geronimo Freitas, and Alfonso Bravo. The bullpen is pretty solid as well, led by Andres Munoz, Alexis Diaz, and Jonathan Hernandez. Should be a lot of fun. World Series in the next episode as the Marlins go for ring number 2. Hope everybody enjoyed the episode. I know it was a really long one, but a really fun one nonetheless. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.